I am Slick Nick, the living legend. And of course, this is my dad. This is where I came from. Every part of my identity has been ingrained with observing my dad my whole life. We are filming this in front of my dad's truck. You've had this for 5 years now, right?
Yes.
So what year is this F-150?
It's 2014.
Okay, so 2014 Ford F-150. And what's interesting about this is, whereas you've had this for 5 years, let's talk about the truck you had before this one. The 1990 Ranger?
It's a 1988.
Oh, 88.
Yeah.
88 Ford Ranger.
Yeah.
So how many years did you have that truck?
I had it for 24 years. Yeah, I bought it. It was 2 years old. I bought it, and it's just a little Ranger 4-cylinder, 5-speed, and just a great little truck. I mean, it wasn't giving me troubles, so I just kept driving it. And finally, it just got where, you know, it was actually unsafe because it had no safety features, no airbags, you know, no. I mean,
the seat, yeah, it didn't have the headrest.
Yeah,
it just was glass, just.
You got rear-ended, your back of your head hits the back of the windshield. You know, just so you know, it just become time, and then I needed something that could actually pull a car trailer, you know, with a car on it. Once I had the Falcon finished, and I was, you know, taking it here and there, whatever, but the Ranger just couldn't do that. It was still a good truck. It still ran fine. And I really hated to see it go, but it was time.
Yeah, 24 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something interesting too about that truck, though, it was a, like I said, it was a manual transmission, and so ultimately, though, one of the reasons I need to be grateful for that old truck is because that's why I learned to drive a manual. And if it weren't for that, I would never have been forced to.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, in college, you know, I made some money by mowing lawns. And so I would lift the, you know, it was just one of those push mowers, and I'd lift it up in the back of the Ranger, drive to the next town over along the mountain here, and I was driving a stick shift back there. And not that I was ever that good at it, but it forced me to really kind of be able to drive it. And then in college, at one point, the car that I was driving needed a new motor or something.
It was something small, but you didn't have time to fix it before.
And I was in Virginia, and you're in Alabama. So I ended up driving your Ranger for a couple months during that time, which again forced me to, you know, be able to drive a manual during that time. And so all of that leading to, of course, my new Jeep Wrangler here, which is a 6-speed. And you know, if it weren't for the fact that I was able to drive one, then you know, I wouldn't be able to get that. So I'm grateful that kind of forced me to learn how to drive one. And since then, with my website, my blog, I've been sent on trips by Toyota, Lexus, GM, and they'll have stick shifts, and like, can you drive one? Yes, maybe not that great, but I can drive one. But what I really want to focus on too on this video, I feel it's bragging rights, and it's even arguably a masculine trait to be able to say that you've kept the same car for a decade or more. And it's funny because I was telling people about with my Jeep how I've been driving a Honda Element for 13 years now, and that's bragging rights. Not only does it indicate that you've been driving a car that you've had no car payments on for most of the time you've owned it, but it's also showing that you are dedicated to this thing. You're not worried about it. Shows that you're good with money. It shows that you're loyal and dedicated. I think it brings out a lot of positive traits about a man, for him not to be trying to upgrade cars all the time. You get a car that you like and you just stick with it. 24 years is a long time. There's a song by Dierks Bentley. One of my favorite country albums is Dierks Bentley. He's got an album called Riser, and one of the first tracks on there is called I Hold On, and he's talking about, I think he actually talks about his truck, like he's married the same woman and he's still married to her. He bought this truck, he still got the truck. Got a job, kept the same job. And it's funny because like that's you, that's me, that's who we are. We had the same cars for well over a decade, you know. my parents have been married how long? 41 years now? Married in 77. So this is 2019. So this is, 41. This
41.
Is going.
That's what I thought. Yeah, 41.
So yeah, it definitely speaks volume. It definitely anyway, that song about Dierks Bentley is talking about I Hold On, and talking about how important it is to be loyal and dedicated to things. And I think those are definitely ways that symbolize that. Married to the same person that long, keeping the same car that long, even keeping the same job that long if you can. I understand the importance of working your way up the ladder, but if you can do that in the same company, I mean, even for me, so many people, when I worked at the company before I work now, I'd been there 12 years, and they said, why are you still here? You're one of the few people who's still here. Why are you still here? But for me, it was that I learned several different things about the trucking industry. I work in the trucking industry, recruiting, and I learned several different things because I would quickly rise to a supervisor. Then they'd give me a new department to be in charge of. I learned a lot during that 12 years. So then a year ago, when it came time for, when I was putting resumes for a new job, the reason I was hired is because I had far more experience than anybody else that they'd interviewed for the position. I was able to say, yeah, I've got a dozen solid years in this industry and from a couple of different backgrounds within the industry. And that was the reason it was a no-brainer that they hired me. So I definitely think that this is, and as I've talked to other guys this week about my Jeep, I said, look at the Element that I'm driving now. I've been driving 13 years. And it's funny how many men they just kind of said, yeah, I've been driving the same car for over 10 years too. Mm-hmm. So I think it's truly a reflection of character, mm-hmm. positive male character of these things, about holding on to these things and being loyal to these things and making these things work. Because even with marriage, so you've been married over 4 decades, I've been married over 1, but it's a matter of, it's not as simple that you just marry someone and therefore if you marry the right person, you don't get divorced because you marry the right person. That's part of it. But arguably even more of it is a reflection of you and how you solve those problems that are going to happen in marriage. And a matter of knowing what things you can control and what things you shouldn't control. What things you should let go. And most of it you should let go. And of course in the process you realize and you learn how much you actually need to change accordingly. And I got to the point now where past the 10-year mark, I just always assume that there's no such thing as being wrong or right on either party. It's not like, oh, well, I'm the husband, I'm always wrong, that's just how it is. You can never win an argument. Well, for me, there is no argument to take place. There is no right or wrong. But I do think, what can I learn from this and how can I change accordingly? Because while my way of thinking might work for me, it's not working for the person I'm living with and sharing my life with. And so I would actually say that one of the things that has really helped me understand my masculine identity, ironically enough, is being married to a woman who's the complete opposite of me in so many ways, as far as she thinks like a woman and I think like a man, and you're forced to fix those problems like we made in another video. Men don't complain. They fix the problem themselves, or they delegate to someone else who can fix the problem. And you find out, in my character arc, how do I need to change in this situation? So I think that goes with a long-lasting relationship. I think it works with a car. I mean, with your Ranger, did you ever have to replace anything on it along the way?
Nothing major, just small, things that's going to go out, starters, alternator or something.
You didn't have heat in it either, actually.
Actually, yeah, something happened with the thermostat in the last few days. So.
But I think a lot of people would have not waited 24 years to, they would have upgraded way before that. Yeah. But you work how many miles from here? Like, is it 7 or 8 miles?
Yeah, 6 miles.
6 miles. So it's not like you really needed it. So, and again, it's a reflection of being good with money management. I actually think is another masculine trait. It's good for any human being, but a man who knows how to manage the money he does have. Not saying, I wish I made more money. No, it's like, well, look at my skill set. Let me try to climb the corporate ladder, whatever it is. But with the money I do have, how can I manage it better? And just imagine in those 24 years, you weren't making truck payments. You weren't making payments. No. It was very low maintenance, and that was a reflection of money management skills.
And I think that's another part of the, being able to keep the thing running, so many years, the proper maintenance, any vehicle, you can get limits or whatever, but if you maintain them, no matter what brand it is, it should last you, 24 years. But anyways, yeah, that's part of it, is being able to maintain them and keep them up. I think maybe kind of bragging rights, that, hey, I've drove this thing 24 years, and yeah.
And I definitely think too, like just the way, again, going back to marriage, going back to your job, because you have been, we made another video about it. You've been at the same company since 1979. This November makes 40 years at the same company. You drove the same truck for 24 years, and you've been married for 41 years.
42 in
42,
June.
okay, in June. So,
not that much.
You can't do that if you're not willing yourself to be emotionally intelligent enough to think, how do I need to change? What do I need to do to maintain this? Whether it's a marriage, a job, a vehicle, and so many other things. Those are the first three things that come to mind. But imagine if you're me and this was your life model to know what you're supposed to do, and then you can see me doing the same. I worked at the same place for 12 years until they shut down. I have driven the same car for 13 years, and I would still drive it if I didn't get this amazingly unbelievable deal on the Jeep I always wanted. And of course, again, I've been married for over a decade. So many things you can see. It's not a coincidence. I had a model to base this off subconsciously. We never had this conversation until now.
Right.
This is the first time we've ever had this conversation. Mm-hmm. But now I'm able to realize none of that was a coincidence. And that's why I'm so passionate about making these videos, because my target audience is younger men in their teenage years, early 20s, who have not really had this explained to them. I want to share my life experience with you so that hopefully you can end up being able to have the same success that we've had in life. And by the way, so 5 years into this new truck, it's everything you'd hoped?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So there we go. I love talking about this sort of thing. You know what to do, and that's to leave a comment right here.